Can you tell me what is going on right now in America? Because I don't get it. I've never heard the name Dan Heyman before today, but he works for the Public News Service, and he was trying to ask a question of Health Secretary Tom Price and White House Advisor Kellyanne Conway about health coverage under the Republican health care plan, basically doing his job as a reporter, right? This was a public official in a public building, in a public space. This is a hallway. The reporter trying to catch up with them, yelling out questions because they wouldn't answer, and he got arrested. That's right, they had the reporter arrested for, quote, causing a disturbance at Ms. Conway and Secretary Price. The official charge is willful disruption of government processes. Have you ever heard of such a thing in the United States? I've heard of such a thing in a number of banana republics around the world. You see it happen in South America. You've seen it happen in China. You've seen it happen in the Middle East. When a reporter is thrown in jail for asking questions, we've got a problem. Not just because it's the reporter's job to ask questions, but because here in America, we used to think that there was this idea of a free press, that journalists would be able to ask questions and run stories based on following the story, based on following the lead, based on getting the truth out there. And if they are thrown in jail simply for asking questions, this is not they made some unsubstantiated claim, it's not that they put something in writing or put something on the airwaves that was demonstrably damaging. He was asking questions, and he was charged with willful disruption of government processes. Now, look, it would be different if he had gone to Mr. Price's home and camped out in his lawn, or burst in his front door and said, let me ask you a question. That's a little different. There's a little bit of invasion of privacy, but this was in a public place. It's not even like he was in his office. If you can explain this to me, I'd really like to try to understand it. Because right now, from all of the appearances, it looks as if we've turned a corner right now in our country, and there is no free speech. If people can lose their jobs for saying something that other people don't like, to a certain degree, I can understand that, because employers have a right to fire people regardless of, whatever they do or don't do that the employer doesn't like. But to put someone in jail for asking questions. My email here is steve@radiofreespeech.com. If you've got a good defense of this, I'd like to engage you in a real conversation, maybe have an interview on the podcast or something where we can actually discuss this as rational human beings, because I don't want to hear party line politics. I don't want to hear little snippets of, they did this or they didn't do that. Look, the bottom line is, regardless of your politics, if you support arresting someone and charging them with willful disruption of government processes for simply asking questions, then you are not a friend of the American democratic process, you are not a friend of freedom, and you certainly do not believe in the First Amendment. Check it out, radiofreespeech.com.